Hello, in this video I want to give you two primary reasons for why the West should help Ukraine in their war with Russia. So when I'm talking about the West, I'm talking about Europe, about the United States, about Canada, Japan, South Korea, all countries that politically fall under the West, that could be politically described as Western. So the first reason is an altruistic reason. So some things, some principles we simply have to uphold if we want our modern world to function. And the other reason that I'm also going to give you is a very selfish reason. And I actually find the second reason more interesting because people in these debates, especially those that are actually pro-Ukrainian, rarely focus on selfish reasons that I think actually with some people are going to be more effective when it comes to changing their mind on this topic. So okay, let us first start with altruistic reasons. So many people take this for granted, but after World War II, not a single country was wiped off the map completely. Like for example, Poland was in the 18th century and again in the 20th century, or like the Ottomans just conquered many nations, like Serbia, for example. Serbia got completely wiped off the map of Europe. So the world did become, all in all, more stable than it was before World War II. There were still wars, but mostly civil wars, anti-colonial wars. Not so many wars of conquest happened. And to just give you a few examples of why wars or conquest are so bad. So once we abandon this principle of respecting territorial integrity, this leads to chaos. Hungarian minorities in many countries feel oppressed. For example, in Serbia, in Czechia, and also in Slovakia. And some Hungarian nationalists want a greater Hungary. And there was a few years ago, there was this mini scandal when somebody from the Orban's administration tweeted a map of Greater Hungary that also includes parts of Croatia and Serbia, and then Croatian politicians were angry, both right-wing politicians and leftists. So this kind of rhetoric creates animosity and chaos. Then the Ogaden War is actually an example of Somalia attacking Ethiopia and trying to take their territory. And the Soviets here actually defended Ethiopia, which was, in my opinion, a moral choice to do. Because, yeah, the Somali argument was some of our people live in Ethiopia. Therefore, we get to claim the Ogaden region. But yeah, I don't think that once you start to disrespect that important principle, then, as Yuval Noah Harari said, then we go back to the jungle. And then it's just war all the time. But okay, the counter argument that I often hear is, but who is the West, who is the United States to uphold this principle? Didn't they attack Iraq for false reasons? Well, yeah, that is true. They did attack Iraq on false reasons that were, yeah, based on a lie. And I do think that that infuriated Putin, given the fact that Saddam Hussein was his ally. But still, so the United States never conquered Iraqi territory. That is a big difference. That is a big difference. So conquering territory, I think most people would agree, there is something additionally evil about conquering territory. And that is why, at least in that one aspect, the West still has, let's say, a moral high ground when it comes to conquering territory. Maybe the closest thing that the West did to what Russia is doing, and okay, there are still some significant differences, was to recognize Kosovo as an independent country. But there are some important differences. So firstly, the Kosovo war started already before anybody recognized anything. So it wasn't like Putin proclaiming independence of two regions that were under international law Ukrainian. So the Kosovo war started, well, primarily because Slobodan Milosevic decided to just oppress Albanian people. His regime was the closest thing to fascism that existed back then, when you look at how he treated the Albanians, while he presented himself as an anti-fascist to many people. So in that aspect, the Putin ideology is the closest to Milosevic ideology, not to Hitler's ideology. But essentially what happens? So the Albanians under Tito were given a lot of autonomy. Then Tito dies, Slobodan Milosevic rises to power, and Yugoslavia also breaks up, an important thing to mention. And in eyes of many Albanian people, that was like a green light to now demand at least more autonomy, since Milosevic abolished their autonomy that they had under Tito. They started to peacefully protest. The Milosevic regime responded by killing them, shooting at Albanians that peacefully protested. Then Albanian terrorists started to retaliate, and then the Serbian military would retaliate, and that's how the war escalated. And in the end, Clinton decided to bomb Serbia, a controversial decision, I agree, and I actually do feel bad for the Serbian civilians that died, but that did shorten the war. And Serbian civilians were also getting killed on Kosovo by Albanians who had a very strong culture of blood vengeance. So yeah, I do think that the NATO intervention in the end saved lives. But okay, so Putin and many others use this to claim that, well, if the West is going to break that principle, then we can do it too. But as I already said, so two important differences. The war already started before anybody actually proclaimed independence. And secondly, Albanians were legitimately very oppressed. Like, some Russians maybe felt oppressed in eastern Ukraine, but they were not getting killed while they peacefully protest. That's the difference. So yeah, important differences. And also, a third important difference: Albanians had a very clear majority on Kosovo, unlike the Russians in the east of Ukraine. They just don't have a clear majority. So yeah, this is the map of how the ex-Yugoslav countries actually look today. And also one other thing that could be compared with what Putin did, that the West did, is recently, under Trump, the United States recognized Israel conquering the Golan Heights. But still there is a difference. So the Syrian military did legitimately attack Israel from the Golan Heights, while to attack Russia from Ukraine would simply be crazy if you look at the sizes of those two countries, while Israel is much smaller than its Arab neighbors. And yeah, also I do agree that there is something problematic in helping your allies while they do bad things. But I'm not blaming Putin for all the insane stuff that Kim Jong-un does, like fire rockets over Japan and stuff like that. But okay, now I want to give you a purely selfish reason for supporting Ukraine. And okay, bear with me, this is going to be a kind of bizarre analogy. Okay, so imagine that you're living in the Roman Empire. Let's travel back to the times of the Roman Empire. So you are a Roman citizen, one of the free people in the Roman Empire. And so, okay, let's imagine that, let's say your wife died giving childbirth, or she died from some disease, and now after a year of mourning, you decide to go to the slave market to buy yourself a new wife. And your friend Brutus is with you on the market. And you just mention, hey man, did you hear about how the Persians attacked our vassal states, our allies? And your friend just says, well, yeah, I heard about that, but I don't care. We should just let Persia take as much land as they want. And you say, like, what the hell, man? They are our allies. If we don't help them, then the word of the Roman Empire to defend its allies is not going to mean anything. We are going to get weaker we are going to lose more allies, and in the end Persia is just going to get more territory. That means more resources for them, more population. How is it in our interest to let Persia get more land and more population under their control? But your friend just says, well, look, I really don't care. Why not? We should let Persia get stronger. They're never going to attack us. They are just not strong enough to attack us. Why not just let them get stronger? I don't care. And you persist. You tell them, well, maybe right now they are not strong enough to attack us, but if we abandon all of our allies, who knows what can happen in the future? Or great empires crumble, or at least they did in the past, and we have internal enemies. Some rebellious general could start an uprising against the emperor, then the Persians could help him with now new resources that they've gained, or they could exploit our internal differences and weaken us from within. But your friend just says, that won't happen, that won't happen. And then the crisis of the 3rd century happens. Like in the West, Rome gets attacked by barbarians. That causes a civil war. There is the plague, demographic decline. And Persia uses that as an opportunity to get stronger, to attack Roman lands, even to capture some Roman emperors in battle. And most historians actually agree that one of the reasons for the crisis of the 3rd century was Persia getting stronger. When your main geopolitical enemy gets stronger, yeah, that's generally bad for you. Now, yeah, I wish we were living in a pacifist world, in a world where blocks of countries were not fighting for power. I wish we lived in such a world, but since we don't live in such a world, we have to operate in a world in which we found ourselves in. And it is not in the interest of the West to get to just let the opposing bloc of countries get stronger. It's not in the same way in which it was not in the Soviet interest to just abandon Viet Cong. How is that in their interest? It simply wasn't. And okay, obviously, if you didn't realize, the point of this analogy is that Persia is Russia. And okay, I don't think that Russia will ever actually attack the United States in the same way in which Persia ended up attacking Rome. But I do think that if Russia gets stronger, they will use those resources to make the political divisions that exist within the United States even stronger. And we have already seen that they are trying to do so by financing some right-wing influencers, and also probably some extreme leftists as well. So in Europe, I actually know that Russians are giving money to both the most extreme left parties and most extreme right parties. And I actually don't think that Trump is a Russian spy or necessarily even an ally of Russia. I do think that Trump is extremely unpredictable, and I do think that to an extent that even frightens Putin. But I think that he definitely preferred Trump winning more than Biden winning, and I also think that Putin actually wants Trump to win again for the simple reason that Trump is bound to create chaos and divisiveness that will then weaken the United States. Like when Putin saw January 6th happening, it was like Christmas for him, surely. Like his most powerful enemy humiliated, shown to be unstable. Also, he then was able to make the argument, see, democracy leads to all of this confusion. Like, we don't have that here, we all agree about who won the election, Putin would say. But okay, that's all I have to say, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more videos like this.